In most other popular team-based hero shooters, characters fall into specific roles. Using Overwatch, for example, if you want to play a game of ranked, you have to choose whether you're going to play tank, damage, or support. And this generally creates a lot of problems in those games, with a lot of people wanting to play damage, not so many people want to play tank, and even less people wanting to play support. Now, if you are one of those people that are just at least a little bit upset about being forced to play a specific role in order to play your favorite game, you'll be happy to hear that Crucible has no roles whatsoever. Now, how is that possible? I hear you ask. Well, my name is Baggins, and today we're going to be answering that question. We're going to be talking about Crucible's characters and everything that we've seen so far, revealed by Amazon and other articles out there. Let's go. So earlier on today, or potentially yesterday, depending on how painfully slow I am at editing this video, we got to see a couple of character reveals from our friends over at Crucible. They showed us Earl and a Jonah. Now, I am aware that when I said earlier on at the start of the video, this game features characters that don't have specific roles, that's not something that's completely groundbreaking. Obviously, a very recent popular shooter that just came out, Valorant, features characters that don't have specific roles. In fact, the only thing that really differs between those characters is the abilities that they have. If I'm not mistaken, everybody has the same size health pool and has access to the same weapons. It's just the abilities that make those characters unique. Now, Crucible is similar in some ways, but obviously in other ways very different, in that Sage is probably considered a healer or a support in that game, but it's not mandatory that you have a Sage on your team in Valorant. Now, so far from what we've heard about Crucible, Bug is probably the closest thing that we have to a healer, but again, we're going to assume that it's not essential that you have him on your team if you need some heals. What we've seen from the two publicly, officially released characters is that a Jonah appears to be a sniper type character with a harpoon gun, efficient at taking enemies out from a longer range, and Earl appears to be a bit more of a bruiser, in-your-face kind of guy with a big old minigun that he's named after his wife. Now, one of the most interesting things about these characters and what you can see on the screen here is as you level up with these characters within a round of Crucible, you'll unlock these different essence upgrades. So starting at level 1, you can choose from 3 different paths. So sort of like an RPG-esque skill tree system. You could choose to go with the expanded quiver, which increases the maximum ammo size by 2. You could go with the Seize Bounty, which allows you to throw your mines at a greater distance and also increases the number of mines you have. Or you could go for the Tidal Ridge, which gives you an additional charge on the grappling hook, but increases the cooldown by 2 extra seconds. It seems at level 2, across the board so far, you don't get any choice as to what happens there. Just level 2 is just a flat bonus increase for the character. At 3, we get a choice again, and at 5, we get a choice again. So it seems at even levels, you don't get a choice, and odds is where the sort of decision of what you're going to pick based on the current match you're playing and based on what you're playing against will come in. Now, from what I've read in the article so far, it sounds as though the decision of what upgrades you will choose is done at the start of a match, so it doesn't seem that when you get to level 3, you get to choose which path you go into. Now, this isn't made abundantly clear, so we are kind of just guessing here. We'll have to wait until we get some more official confirmation from Amazon. But as I say, based on what we can see in the articles, it does seem to indicate that at the start of the round, you get to choose what your talents are. Now, it does seem like it's a little bit of a shame that you don't get to do it mid-match. I think it would be really cool to see if the enemy is going for a particular strat and then choose something within your own talents that would counter that. However, maybe that's not how the system was designed, and instead you're supposed to choose it prior based on the knowledge that you've gained from the game so far. Now, it does seem with these two characters, the level 5 upgrade is the most powerful upgrade, and we're going to assume that's by design. Also, in other articles we've read on Crucible so far, which I will be putting links to in the description down below, after you reach level 5, you still can keep increasing in level, but it doesn't give you extra talents or upgrades. They just say that from then on out, it just increases your health and damage. So still an incentive to keep on leveling up, but this sort of character customization tool is only for the first 5 levels in the game. Now, going back to the role queue thing that we talked about earlier, we can take a look at this sort of handy-dandy stat graph thing here that's been made. gives us a breakdown of what the characters specialize in. It does look like Earl, in comparison to a Jonah, has quite a bit more health, so naturally assume that he is a bit more of a tank. However, if what we've heard from Amazon is true so far, it won't be required that you play an Earl on your team in order to fill that tank role. You could get away with playing some squishier characters and figure out some way with the talents and with teamwork to take down a more well-rounded team composition. From what we've seen on their Twitter feed, it seems as though these character reveals are going to continue to happen, maybe on a daily basis from now until the game's release. So over time, we'll get a more in-depth look at each of the talents from the characters. Although these are the only 2 character previews we have so far, there is quite a bit of information that can be divulged from those articles, and from gameplay previews we have seen. A lot of articles mention Drakal, Summer, Bug. Specific to Bug, they describe him as almost a support character with a heavy emphasis on area control. We also have Tosca, who is described as an evil genius with an acid scattergun, who has access to a blink ability, a smokescreen ability, so she seems to be a bit more of a flanky assassin, take out their backlines kind of character. However, on this specific GameSpot article, they do mention that you don't need to be a headshot master to be a valuable member of the team. So that would imply that not every character in Crucible is going to require some sort of aim mechanic. Indeed, this is backed up at a different point in the GameSpot article, as they say this Drakal character has a big scythe or axe. We can assume, I guess it's this guy here. And there is also the flamethrower lady. Again, I'm going to assume that it's not necessarily aiming that will be important, maybe more tracking or just positioning and how you harass the enemy with these characters. So for those of you who aren't aiming gods, myself included, there'll still be characters to play for the no aim, no brain Winston main Insiders all. Now, on the topic of essence upgrades and how talents will progress throughout a match, it does seem from the gameplay we've seen so far, and I think it's confirmed in this article, that experience or essence is shared team-wide. So unlike in MOBAs, which I guess are a somewhat similar comparison to this, you can't feed all the experience into one character and have somebody get way ahead of the levels compared to the rest of your team. It does seem as though when you gain experience, it's also shared out amongst your team at an equal rate. So the idea that you could fall behind in farm and be the weakest member of your team from that perspective is not possible. Now, from this picture that Amazon have put up on their Twitter feed, we can still see that there is an abundance of characters that we don't really know any information about. Again, a little bit of snippets, a little bit of spoilers here and there from pictures, people seeming to have shields around them floating in the air. Invisibility also seems to play a part in some of the characters' kits. But ultimately, in order to know what exactly each specific character does and what they're called, we're gonna have to wait for these character previews to come out from Amazon. So I'll be keeping an eye out for those. I'll be sure to come back to you guys with another video informing you of all the characters' details once that information is there. But yeah, that's kind of everything we know about Crucible's Hunters right now. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. Is there any particular character you've seen so far that looks interesting? Anybody that you would like to know more about? Do a Jonah or Earl seem to excite either of you guys? Personally, for me, I do like my zone control. I like to be a tank or a support. I do like to, help my team by just kind of being a meat shield and getting up in the enemy's face. So whilst Earl does sound kind of interesting to me, I still have a feeling that there's going to be a character more specific for those requirements that I have that we'll see in the future. Anyway, guys, that's me for now. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you go ahead and click that like button, subscribe for more information on Crucible as we get it, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.